And welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Ish Phoenix. Oh my goodness, Ish. What a voice you have.
Well,
Like,
thank
oh
you.
my goodness. Like, I remember the first time I saw you was at that band jam and you guys got up on stage, the Raven Kings.
Yes.
And I I, I would kill for a voice that had that range.
You can have one. Anyone can have one. Anyone can.
Right?
Yes.
But when did you know you could sing?
I couldn't sing for so long.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, I didn't even really start. I mean, I sang.
Yeah.
But it wasn't pretty until probably my late 30s. I really started like honing in on my craft. And then I had this beautiful transformation that I walked through where I realized, everybody has a unique voice. And instead of trying to emulate, the greats, because that's what you're taught. Like, oh, if you want
Yeah.
to learn how to sing, emulate this person or that person or the people that you love. And I did that for so long, but to find that authentic spot. And for me, the shift was I wanted my voice it's going to make me cry. I wanted when I sing to the vibration to touch someone and heal them, because there's so many. The last 4 years, 5 years was really rough on people. And I saw so much pain in the separation of humanity because we were ripped apart.
Yeah.
And so there was just like this massive healing that needed to take place. And I all super believe in sound and frequency and waves.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's like my piece of it. Now when I sing, I want it to uplift humanity,
And
whether it sounds like trash or not.
right. But I think that's an important thing, right? Because one of the things that I love about music is when you have a band like yours with a focus like that, right? Because music is the key, I think, to us being better human beings. Like we get along under the umbrella of music more than any other place, I think. And
I agree with you
yeah.
100%.
And so what prompted, so like I know with your lyrics being inspiring and you're sort of want to touch people and things like that, like how did that process start? Did you just kind of come up with a song one day or just like, you know what, I'm going to join a band or
No, so for me, ever since I was little, like I remember being like 4 and the only person's voice that like really captured me, she was this big, beautiful black mama. And I remember like saying to myself, I want to sing like a black lady when I was like little, not PC to say that, like, because, but
right.
to me, that's where the voice was come. That's the only place I saw that rich voice coming from. And so, singing was definitely always on the spectrum for me. And then growing up, in different churches, white churches and then some black churches, seeing the different styles in music. And um yeah, so it really I've always wanted to sing.
Yeah.
Always.
And how did the opportunity to become the lead singer of the Raven Kings come about?
I am not the lead singer of the Raven Kings.
Oh,
I am a
interesting.
co-front of the Raven Kings. Jesse DeVille and I co-front that band. And that
That's an
was
awesome distinction. I really appreciate
yeah.
that.
Yeah, for sure. The Raven Kings came about really as a fluke. It was probably divine intervention. I was filling in for a good friend of mine's band, Porchlight, which is really awesome. You guys can check them out. They're out of Yamhill County. Their singer was going out of town, and so I was filling in, and we had a lot of work to do in a very short time. And so their band leader was like, hey, why don't we go to the West Side and just blow some dust off? And James Jameson ended up drumming for us that night because our drummer wasn't available. And so I met James and he was looking to do a project. And the Raven Kings, I didn't know about them back then. They were a 3-piece that were just getting started. And so I told James what I was looking for musically, which was it's really important for me to work with clean musicians, that music is the forefront.
Yeah.
Because I have a big family. So anytime that I'm taking away from my family needs to be like weighted and have value. And so I told him what I was looking for, and he was basically like, well, good luck.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then thanks to the MSG Jam,
Yeah.
I happened to talk to James and I'm like, hey, so what's this jam about? He's like, oh, it should be a good one. You should come out to it. And I did. And Jesse DeVille happened to be there, and Jim Tucker happened to be there, and Ted Morrison happened to be there. And it was so funny because like I wasn't looking for a band really, but I was sitting in the back and I was like, if I had a band, I'd want that guy and that guy and that guy. And it was just, some wild thought. And it ended up manifesting. At the time, there was a battle of the bands happening in Yamhill County, and
Yeah.
my old guitar player, who's recently passed, we were going to get him on stage one last time. And so when we were working towards that, it looked like it might not happen. And so I reached out to the person putting on the Battle of the Bands. It's like, look, I don't know if my guitar player is going to be able to do this. He's like, oh, why don't you get Jesse DeVille to see if he'll cover? And so I kind of lined that up. Hey, if my guitar player can't play, he's like, yeah, I got you. And it's like, okay, that's nice. So that kind of started a relationship musically that way. And then there was a local pub that ended up needing a band where I live. And so I reached out to Finding Danny at the time when Jim Tucker was in that band at the time, and James Jameson was in that band. And Jim's in a bunch of different bands. So his other band, the Divine Wind Brotherhood, they're like a cool surf band. He had a gig booked with them, and so we made a makeshift band between James Jameson, Ted Morrison, myself, and Jesse DeVille. So we just kind of threw a set list together,
Stage.
and did 4 hours, and it turned out really well. And so my band ended up pulling out of Battle of the Bands. But then since that one show went so well, they're like, hey, why don't you do the Battle of the Bands with us?
Yeah.
We still weren't even a band then. And so after that, it's like, there's some magic here happening.
Y'all have some musicians on stage with
man.
you.
I'll tell you what.
Goodness. Yeah. Like guitar.
Oh, I brought you something.
Okay.
Can I give it to you?
Sure.
Okay. I listened to one of your interviews and you were talking about like communication didn't come easy for you.
Yeah.
And so there's a stone in there for you.
You're gonna make me cry.
Aw.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Can you explain it?
You can open it and look at it. So I was like, getting ready for the interview, and I was like, I really want to bring him some swag, and thinking like, I'll just bring him like a Ravens t-shirt and like some stickers or something. And then I heard Spirit just say, nope. And then,
oh, this is better.
Your conversation just came to the forefront of my mind. And I'm thinking, oh, I'll just give him like, I've got a bunch of like crystal-y. And then that one said, nope. And I was supposed to take that one to you. So
this is perfect.
I don't know if it'll help with communication or what, but it definitely chose you.
Yeah.
So
that's so awesome. So about a few months ago, I interviewed these two amazing women from Staten that own a place called I've Got Rocks in My Head.
Oh, nice.
And this is awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. That one, there's this really cool wholesale rock store in Lincoln City called Visions. And the owner of that store is so amazing.
Yeah.
And he gave me the hookup on Larimar, which only comes from, I think, the Dominican Republic is the only place that it's found. So
this is going to go right next to my piece of Roman pottery.
Aww.
I have a tiny piece of Roman pottery. When I was stationed in Germany, they had near the base where I was at, they had an old Roman excavation site. And if you paid like $100, you could take a tiny piece of Roman pottery with you. It's only about like that big.
But it all holds frequency,
Yeah.
So it's like the past is in that little piece.
Yeah, and it kind of goes, yeah. I love like this. This is a protection necklace that I got from Bhutan, a monk from Bhutan that I interviewed.
That's so awesome.
That is so perfect. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
They really choose us.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that too.
Yeah.
And I feel you with like the whole like borderline divine intervention thing. Just everything that has happened to me in Salem since I've been here has been beyond explanation in a good way that I can't really put my finger on it. And I think it's just when you put out that good energy, it comes back. And thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think collectively we're probably moving into brighter times, more like
I think
the
so.
Renaissance period,
Yeah.
where it's just like there's going to be beautiful inventions coming out. I think everything will be a little bit lighter in feeling, and I think we're going to rise up as a human species.
I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
I really am. And so, like, you kind of threw me off for a little
Sorry.
bit. No, you're good. You're good. Uh, so when you get on stage, so that the first time, do you remember the
Mhm.
first time that you got on stage
As a solo
as a
artist?
band?
Oh, as a band with the Raven
Yeah.
Kings?
What was that like? That first time on stage?
Well, as a whole band, the first time we had already done things not as a full band.
Yeah.
So I don't really get nervous
Oh,
on
that's
stage.
awesome.
Actually, the first time we got on stage, it was just pure magic, and it was a fluke too. We happened to be at South Liberty,
Yeah.
and all of us were at a jam, and we randomly, like, jams are kind of, you never know who you're gonna end up with. And Jim Tucker and James Jameson were part of the hosting band.
Yeah.
They were the MSG band, and so I ended up getting up there with. There were all five of us, and it just, like, I look at those. There was a couple of videos taken from that, and it was
Yeah.
like you can just see that there was enough personalities that clicked, and everybody just kind of fired up. And the coolest thing about when you work with people like that is they raise you up, right?
Oh,
So it's like
100%.
everybody's energy was great, and you have these stellar players, and then, like, this magic kind of happens where it's like, and it's effortless. So that was really cool.
And the other piece that I have seen with your band in that regard is that you don't have to spend a lot of time communicating on stage. You all get each other, so you're reading on those subtle cues that not a lot of people pick up on, in terms of like when to change timing, when to, like, all of that sort of non-communicative communication that goes so well with your band that I don't see a lot of places.
That's because those boys, Jim Tucker
Yeah.
and Ted Morrison and Jesse DeVille, grew up together. And so they were like Salem hood rats, for lack of a better word.
Okay.
Right? They were like,
Yeah.
they were punk, the skaters. And so they go way, way back. And Jesse and Ted have worked together in bands lots growing up. And as far as Jim and Jesse being able to play together, that is, to have two amazing lead players
Yeah.
that don't step on each other, that respect each other enough as an artist to make space, is so mind-blowing, beautiful, awesome, that it's
Rare.
just so rare. I've been in a band where I had two lead players before, and there wasn't the mutual respect, and it was probably the most awful thing musically that I ever had to experience. But
As I would imagine, they were competing for that solo time, and they were competing for the riffs instead of let's do this together. And,
yeah.
When I think one of the keys to a successful band is that harmony in between band members.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And one of the things that struck me as amazing when I watched, because you put on the show, you start off on. Let me pause for a second. You all start off on the stage when you're doing the jam session.
Yes.
And who comes up with the songs that you all play when you do that? Just kind of spur of the moment?
No, so we'll like have a band rehearsal, and it's like, so what do you guys,
Yeah.
what do you want to throw at them this week? And sometimes we're all about originals, and sometimes we're just like, oh, you know what, this cover is really cool. The guys do The Boys Are Back in Town, which I love
awesome.
because it's like them reuniting. So that has more value when they sing it, because they're back together and they're all on stage together, and they're in their 50s. And so really, like, to be able to jump around and have that energy, for a lot of people by their 70s, that's gone.
I can't
right?
do that at 46. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, right? I can't do that. And what they got going on stage is like, oh,
Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah. So they still have their health, and they still have their energy, and this life is short. We just have these little
Yeah.
moments. And so it just seems like this is the time for all of that to come to life and be whatever it's going to blend into. We haven't been a band that long, officially. Really, September
Okay.
was when the last piece, Jim Tucker, came in to play, and so that's not very long.
Right.
So,
But it's also talks a lot about the consummate professionals that you have there, because
oh
it doesn't
man,
sound like you've only been together since September.
we got that right out of the gate. Right when
Yeah.
we did the Battle of the Bands, like they were like, how long have you guys
How?
been together? And it's
Right.
like, oh, we had 2 practices, maybe like 2.5 practices. But you just, those guys have been doing it for years and years and years, and their showmanship is like top notch, and they're
Yeah.
really stellar players. So to have that, it just makes it easy. It makes it so easy. And I wouldn't say, most bands have like a weak link. And unless I'm it, right? Like, I don't feel like our band has that. I feel like we just all make each other shine even
I would agree
more.
with that 100%. Yeah, and so when I was there last, and thank you for pushing me to get up on
Oh,
stage,
I'm
by
so
the
glad
way.
you did. That's like where it's at, right?
I was like, oh my God, it's been 25 years. Uh,
Did you get a rush?
yeah,
Yeah.
rush, but at the same time, it's like I forgot just how much goes into it.
Oh, so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, oh crap! Because I got off stage, I'm like, oh, I forgot this, I forgot that, I forgot this, I forgot that. I'm like, but at the same time, it's like I'm so glad I did it, but I will never be a singer.
No, everybody's a singer.
Right, but I will never be in a band.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's lots of amazing musicians who don't take that route
yeah,
because I mean, somewhere along the line most bands break up. You have to really to do it successfully, I think you have to be a good communicator and
yeah,
open to what gifts the other people really have. And so that's not everybody's cup of tea.
yeah. And I could do this all day. Put me in front of a crowd.
Oh,
It's
I'm the
different.
opposite. For
It's different.
me, give me thousands of people. It's
Yeah,
the intimate, like if there's just a couple and they're right on the stage, and oh, that's way harder for me than singing in front of one person is definitely harder for me than singing in front of the masses.
I can appreciate that a lot. And in terms of like how you all practice now, do you guys get together all the time, or just kind of?
Um, so December we kind of took off. We try to do once a week.
Mhm.
But everybody's schedules are pretty busy. So um really our next step is we're going to really just buckle down and work on writing
Good.
and recording.
Where do you record in a place like this?
Those guys have all the equipment.
Yeah,
Jim Tucker owns a music store, Bullfrog Music, down in Corvallis. And so he's got all the recording stuff. James Jameson has all the recording stuff. Jesse DeVille has all the recording stuff. And so we'll just do it.
that's
They've
awesome.
got there's this shack that it's a outbuilding at Jesse DeVille's property, and that's where we gather. So it would be really awesome to record our first record together in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be amazing. That would be amazing. It's because one of the things that I talk ad nauseum on this podcast is about why it's so important to support local and why it's so important to be invested in your community. And when I hear of places like that cater to local artists that don't have those expensive marketing budgets and they're not, Taylor Swift, those are the musicians we need to support.
Oh
I always
yeah.
feel that. And I feel so blessed being in Salem with such amazing musicians. Like I had
Holy
no
cow.
idea.
I had no idea. Like
Yeah.
Salem was not my stomping grounds. Any gigs that I would play were just I tried to keep it as local to Yamhill County and just do that circuit, which
Yeah.
is it's a very different circuit, I'd have to say. And the musicians are really different out there. And then I came to Salem. I had no idea there was this much talent.
Yeah.
No idea. And just not just great talents, but fantastic people too.
Oh,
Like,
100%. They support each other.
Yeah.
Like I'm used to like so like with the Portland scene in particular, I hear stories all the time where musicians are against each other. There's not a lot of people. You come to Salem and it's like you have a band member gets sick. There's 4 people like, yeah, I'll come out and help and jam you and get you through that evening. Like that's an amazing thing that happens all the time.
And it's spreading. It's spreading.
Yeah.
Like, I would definitely say that there's some beautiful individuals here that have really like championed that.
Yeah.
And so maybe the older generation that's not how it was when they were growing up and playing music,
Yeah.
that now it's touching their hearts too, and they're like becoming soft to, hey, no, these are our brothers, let's help them out. There are some older ones that still do that, like Kevin Hansen is on the music scene, and he brings all kinds of musicians together and
Yeah.
and hooks them up. And Danny, the singer from Finding Danny, she's amazing at that. We've shared musicians before, and
Yeah.
it's all about helping each other out. When I first got started, I remember the guitar player was one of the very best like guitarists, probably in Oregon. He was one of the top notch, at least for Yamhill County.
Yeah.
And I remember we were doing a show, and we brought a PA, and it had there was a band going after us, and they were told there was going to be a PA there. And they're like, oh, there's no PA. Can we use yours? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But it wasn't mine. And I remember the musician getting so upset, told me, no, they can't use ours. And I was blown away, shocked.
Yeah.
And I never, like, going forward, that's not who I want to work with. That's not how I want to work. That's not, because it really should be all inclusive. Let's help each other out.
And at the end of the day, it could happen to anyone on stage.
Absolutely.
Amps blow all the time.
Absolutely.
So, like, why would you not put yourself in a position like if it happens to you, you're going to want help.
Yeah.
So why can't you help somebody that? Yeah.
And the old days, bands would underbid each other and stuff, and so like that was a huge thing that happened. And so
that's so lame.
I know. Especially because, live music took such a hit when karaoke hit the scene. So
Yeah.
you used to have like live music everywhere, and then karaoke came into play, and there were less and less and less jobs. And so I don't feel like the majority, definitely, of Salem musicians are like that. And what I would like to see personally is everyone who's in the same circuits, bring it up, know your value, bring it up, set a bar for like, this is the,
yeah.
And then support your buddy. And
it always surprises me that doesn't occur. Just because there's so much power when you get together and
absolutely
sort of have that sort of conversation.
I really think the ball is moving towards that.
Yeah.
I see that happening. And I know there's some old dinosaur musicians out there that are like, it'll never happen. But that's not how I see it. I feel like it's definitely going to happen. And I really think that there's going to be a shift, and musicians and artists are going to start being paid their value.
Which I'm glad you brought that up, because it's something a lot of people don't fully appreciate or understand. As a musician, as it sits, there's not a lot of money to be made doing live shows.
No, there's that line between, okay, when you actually make it,
yeah,
and then those people are getting paid, but most of the musicians that I know are actually going in the hole to work their butts off.
It's a
really.
labor of love.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
not for money. It's a labor of love.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I think that would go a long way to sort of changing that culture. If we could figure out a way to collectively say, you know what, we are worth this minimum amount, so let's say something.
Yeah, I totally see music. I see musicians taking over music venues, and from either renting out halls or granges to putting on our own shows and getting stuff going that way, because there's a lot to be.
It makes a difference.
It does.
It makes a difference. I just interviewed Ron Coote, who owns the Mekong Bistro in Portland, and talk about a venue that was built by musicians for musicians. And you can just tell. Like, when you can go to a venue and do a collective sigh of relief that says, okay, even if I forgot my amp, there's something here that will get me through. And I can't wait for the day where there are more venues in Salem that are operated by musicians. Because I don't think a lot of people give you enough credit for how you manage that jam session.
You know, you had asked me that, and uh, I don't. There's no way to like herd musicians. There's no.
Right.
But I was thinking about like when you asked me that question, and like I repelled it at first, like no, that's not what's happening. I really was thinking about it, and it's like I have 7 kids
Yeah.
at home,
Hmm.
and so just being able to see like what people are needing in the moment, I think has been a gift that I've adopted along the
Yes,
way.
because you're encouraging and nurturing, but then you also
Yeah,
put on your mom face when you need to
it's a
and be like,
mom vibe. Yep,
"Mm."
it's a mom.
Yeah,
That has to just come back to motherhood.
yeah.
I
But it's
think.
beautiful to watch because
Thank
like
you.
people there get it. They're like, they come and they rally behind you, like, okay, now it's time for me to move. Now it's time for me to get going.
Because, well, even the best musicians, right, that show
Yeah.
up to those things, they want to be wanted, right? For
Yeah.
one, they want to know that what they have to offer is of value. And so if they don't sign up, it's because they need a little encouragement. And then the new person who's scared, right? Like when you first walk in there, it's so intimidating, at least to me, to walk
100%.
into a place. So to have somebody say, no, it's okay, come on up. Or there's this awesome girl that started coming in. It's like, she plays multi instruments, right? But you get up there with those guys, and it's like, no, honey, just tell them to scoot over. Like
Right?
they want
Yeah.
you up there. They want you to scoot over, but it is, because all kinds of levels go there. But for some people, it's really easy to get on stage, and for other people, it's like even if they should be up there, it's so hard.
I would not have gotten on stage if you hadn't been like that.
I'm so glad you
Yeah.
did, because
I am too. Like I am too. That took a lot. And a lot, and what I mean by a lot is my friend Alice was pestering me the whole
right, yeah, no, she was great. She was great, a good encouragement.
time.
But you did it,
Yeah,
man. Like you did it.
yeah, yeah.
That's impressive, because then you're overcoming fear, because we all have fear. Everybody has fear. So to overcome it, like that's what living's all about.
And I didn't feel judged.
No,
Like I
no,
didn't feel
not at
judged,
all.
and that was the most important piece. Because when I got up there and I didn't get it quite right, because I got like a couple of the verses backwards. There's no
Nobody
judgment
noted,
there.
like it's
Nobody
not,
cares.
yeah.
They're like, let's just keep going, and it's like, okay, I got this. Like, yeah.
If you could hear all the wrong notes that I hit trying to find the right ones, you'd be like, oh, I'm going up there every time.
See, and as an audience person, you can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, more often than not, you can't tell. It's that's the beauty of like live music. Is like if you're going to a live musical performance and you're expecting perfection, just turn around and walk out.
Right. Hands down.
There's no such thing. And I would argue perfection is imperfection in a live performance.
Absolutely. We're beautifully, perfectly imperfect.
Yeah. And it takes a lot to get sort of up through that stage. At the same time, though, I would imagine it's so rewarding to see people like dancing in front of you, to sort of getting into your vibe and just sort of seeing the shift. And like, what does it feel like when you match that energy or when you feel that energy from the crowd?
So, I mean, when I'm up there,
Yeah.
there's this window that opens. So it's not just like the people in there. And this sounds like woo woo. I'll play for an empty room because the people that were in there before left a signature in there.
I
So
love that.
I used to play the Elks Lodges a lot, and sometimes it felt like you were playing for the ghosts in the room. Like you could still see them dancing. You could feel like, and it was like stepping back in time when I would do those shows, and that was a trip. But now it's so different, because when I went through that shift, and not just wanting to sing and sound good, but wanting to change things and
Yeah.
bring love into the equation and healing into the equation, then it's like if you have a little plasma ball, right?
Yeah.
And then you just keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it's really turning music into memories, which is awesome. And I don't know about you, but a song can change my mood
Oh yeah, a
like
hundred
that.
percent.
And if
Yeah.
you look at somebody and they know that you see them as you're singing, I mean, to be seen, how many times have you just not been seen? Right?
Most of my life.
So to be
Yeah.
seen, like really be seen, um, I don't know, it changes things. It just
It's
does.
life changing.
Yeah.
It's life changing. One of the biggest life changing moments for me was when I realized I was autistic and I could be like my authentic autistic self, just being, existing. Uh, Changed my life completely because I was playing a part before then. I was just acting the whole way. And when you're acting as your life function, it gets exhausting and it gets tiring. And so being able to drop that lodestone of having to act like you're someone else has been just incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah, I totally get that
Yeah.
because before the shift in me, like when I would go out, I was going out in character,
Yeah.
right? And so that would be exhausting. Or even singing the songs, by the end of the night, I would be so exhausted and felt like I just gave myself away.
Yeah.
And that is not the experience now. Now it's like this constant flow of energy that will never, it's like infinite energy, which is just a totally different place to be, to sing from.
Right. And I see it every time I see it when you're on stage, like just the way that you carry yourself, the way that you move, the way that you're in sync with the music. I can tell that you feel every note that comes across, and that's one of the things that I appreciate most about certain artists, because not everybody has that. Not every artist has that ability, and I always thought that was awesome.
I never really viewed myself as a singer. I always kind of viewed myself more as an entertainer. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of,
There's a difference.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a difference. Huge. And I would imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, when you made that shift of you as an entertainer, it freed you up to do a whole lot more, right?
Oh, so much more.
Yeah.
So much more. Do you remember that game MASH as a
Yeah.
kid?
Yeah.
So I remember on there, it would be singer, actress, dancer, right? And so after that shift had happened, I found myself in a play singing and dancing and acting. And it was just so low key, no big deal. It's like, oh my gosh, like I'm doing what I wanted to do as a kid.
Yeah.
And that's just a great place to be. Go back to what you wanted to do when you were 8. Do that.
I remember so many times my dad would tell me stories about when I was like 4 or 5 or 6 years old, when I would put on these full blown performances in front of my aunts and uncles, like
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And somehow, like, that went away.
Yeah, life kind of stomps it out of you if we
Yeah.
let it. And
If you let it, I appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah. Because and it's never too late to start again. I have
Yeah.
found that out. It's
Oh,
never too
no.
late.
No.
Yeah. And so in terms of like your ability, right, of like learning a song, how long does it take you to like pick up a song, run through the lyrics, and then have enough confidence to sing that song on
You
stage?
might appreciate this, but I will go so OCD and I will listen to it. I will listen to it, my poor family. I will listen to it over and over and over for probably some songs I can get just like that. And
Yeah.
some songs, it takes me 3 days of constant. I listen to it. I listen to it. I listen to it. I start singing it. I start singing it. I start singing it. And because for me, it has to go in muscle memory, right? So
Yes.
that way, when I'm on stage, I'm not thinking about having to
What
sing.
words come
Right.
next?
So
Yeah.
it's,
Oh, I
it
like that.
flows more. It is a lot of work, a lot of hours spent getting the lyrics in to where they'll stay.
Yeah.
I mean, I could probably squeeze them in with some cortisol and like remember a song for a night, but to really get it in to stick, it's about 3 days.
And how do you keep your voice in check? Like, do you do anything like exercise wise, or like stay away from certain liquids or anything like that?
No, I even drink half and half before the. I know.
I'm
I drink it
jealous.
at 180 degrees though, so
Okay.
there's maybe it burns the hairs on the way down. Uh, it if it's a muscle,
Yeah.
so if I'm going to go sing something big, I'm going to warm that muscle up. The easiest way for me to warm the muscle up is through humming, or like if I just have a short amount of time, I'll just some
Yeah.
to loosen it up. There's some really good warm-up songs. Everybody will have their own unique warm-up song that's easy and gentle on your voice to get it warm, but really
Oh, interesting.
you don't want to hit it hard cold. So
Yeah.
you can still sing cold, right? But you're not gonna push for those. You want to respect it as a muscle and not overdo it. Like just if you were lifting weights, you know, you don't want to go
Yeah.
too hard. That's when people lose their voice and cause damage. And yeah, I never want to do that. I got sick one time, probably in my 20s, and I lost my voice,
Oh no.
and I was terrified. I was so terrified that it wouldn't come back. So I never want to take it to a dangerous
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I didn't realize that's what I was doing.
Yeah. And so if you're nervous, if you're tense, if you're all
Yeah.
those things all play into it. So the more relaxed and comfortable. But humming really is the quickest way, you know, make a siren sound, go low.
Yeah. But I have a song that I have as a go to, "By and Down the River" by A Perfect Circle, and uh, when I do my low karaoke thing,
Nice.
but that's my go to for my warm up song because that's sort of right in the middle of my range.
Yeah. And so it just
I didn't
loosens.
realize I was doing that until
Yeah.
just now.
So cool. See, your body knows. You know
Yeah.
what we know what we're doing, even if we don't know what we're doing.
Oh,
And
that's so
so,
interesting.
yeah.
I never would have put two and two together. That's fascinating. And then, like, do you have something like on standby where you're during your performance, like tea or?
No, I just like my coffee.
That's fair.
That's if I had to have. That is my biggest addiction is coffee.
You and mine both.
Yeah. So I always.
What's your go-to?
Um, I'm pretty spoiled, so I'll either do like real maple syrup with breve and like some really good cinnamon and some really good espresso.
Yeah.
Or I'll do like chocolate and real maple syrup with like some peppermint oil. Or my husband was a coffee roaster for a long time, and I was a barista for a long time, and we have the home espresso thing set up. And we had growing up, all the kids, when they hit about 10, would get really like, oh, can I please learn? So we'd have these eager kids wanting to make us espresso. And so they all got like super trained. They're probably the world's best
I love it.
baristas, but we're almost out of kids.
They're all growing up.
So what used to be for free, like now we're like slipping some cash under the table for.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Now there's some financial rewards for the chores.
Yes.
That's awesome.
But water too. And you know, one of the coolest things that I found was if you get some really good sea salt, some really good like Celtic salt.
Oh, interesting.
Because I used to sing and I'd get so dehydrated and parched, right?
Yeah.
But if I take Celtic salt, like a little bit under my tongue, you know, especially a couple hours before, it'll pull. It's got the potassium in it, so it pulls the water into your cells, so you stay way more hydrated than you would, and the water's not just running through you, and you're not having to run to the bathroom in between sets. And it's a game changer.
That is a game changer.
Cucumber juice in the morning is a game changer if you want to hydrate. Like if you have a big show coming up, it's best to go into it hydrated instead of trying to catch up. So celery juice, cucumber juice, stuff like that, if you know, or just salt.
Because I would imagine if you get on the stage and you're already sort of dehydrated, it sort of slows your ability to do everything.
Oh, yeah. And so you like, I sweat up there. I sweat profusely. If I'm really into something, it's a whole body workout for me. And so you can lose electrolytes so fast. And if you don't go into it hydrated, then you really can't give it your all. You'll get fatigued especially if it's like a 4-hour show, you know?
Is that a common thing? Because I know I've noticed like with blues shows, they usually do about 2 or maybe 3 hours. Is it more common in like the rocker kind of setting to have like 4-hour shows? Because that seems like a lot.
It is a lot. There's some venues like some of the bars used to run like West Side used to run till 2 a.m. and they would do 5 hours back in the day for the rock music. And
That's a long time to
it is a
rock
long
out.
time to rock out. 4 hour sets will, I mean, that's like 40 songs minimum,
Yeah,
right? And so if you go into that not hydrated, you're asking you're asking to be worn out the next day. But if you
yeah.
go, like, if I get hydrated before the show, I'm fine the next day.
And then a 4 hour set list. Like, how do you figure out what set list you're going to do for 4 hours?
It goes pretty quick. And like with my guys, they know thousands of songs.
Okay.
So if we're doing covers, like, we can throw in all kinds of stuff because
Yeah.
be, collectively they have thousands of songs between them that they can fake till they make, like they
Yeah.
might not have practiced it, but they know it well enough to
And,
do it.
and the thing I love about real professional musicians is even if they don't know the song, and this is something I saw play out the other day, where the bass player had no idea what the song was. And the guitar player just leaned over and he's like, it's easy. It's this measure, it's this
Uh-huh.
count, it's this measure, then it's this count. And he got it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? How?
There's a really cool number system too, that a lot of musicians use. And once you know the number system,
I had no
it
idea.
makes jamming way easier. So, like, there's thousands of songs that are 3 chords, and those chords will have a number associated to them,
Yeah.
right? So, like, if it's in like the key of A, right? A would be your one, B would be your two,
Yeah.
C would be your three. So, and then D and E would be your four and five. So most like 3 chord songs are 1 4 5 or 1 5 4, and that'll get you thousands of songs. And you can just incorporate your own flair into that. But a lot of the guys know the number system. A lot of the guys know the chords, and they're just like, no, it's just, like GCD or whatever. So
Yeah.
they can like walk you through a
Well,
song pretty easy.
because one of the things I love doing is I have a standing invitation to Nikki Jones band practice on
Oh, she's
Wednesdays.
fantastic.
And so I try to go at least once or twice a month just to watch how the sauce is made because I'm just fascinated. I can watch musicians on stage making and coming up with music all day, every
I just met her a few months ago, but I am in love. Her dimples just,
day.
oh, they do. Like, I see her walk in a room, and that's the first thing I see.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that girl just, and she has a beautiful soul. She really, really does. So down to earth, so chill, so talented. And I don't really listen to a lot of music. It's really hard for me to listen to music. I like the quiet most of the time,
Yeah.
unless I'm learning a song. And she has one of those voices that I could just listen to and not get tired of.
Yep. I have a CD player in my car, and that's the only CD that's in my car.
Right? Like,
But
yeah.
I do like I have this interesting relationship with music in that I can tell you exactly what song I would pick based on the mood, interaction, or whatever is going on in my life. I have a go-to that's like I know a lyric that can help me get through this day because somebody else has been through this and you're not so alone. Like Forgive You by Sia. Like I forgive you for you not know what you have done.
Right?
Like I can get behind that because you're right. Most people, if they're jerks or assholes, they have no idea what they're doing. And I can forgive you for being a jerk if you don't know. I can. I don't want to hang out with you. I would
Yeah,
much
it
rather
doesn't
be the
mean you
kind
have to,
person.
like,
Yeah.
condone it. But I think if everybody really realized what it was like, where that person was coming from,
Yeah.
they would have a lot more.
Well, you don't know what they're going through in their life.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah.
No
And
idea.
it's like what I tell people about autism. If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. There's no two people on this planet, like not even identical twins, have the same life story.
Right.
And so if you're holding somebody account to something that you have no idea, it's just wasted energy in my eyes. And it takes so much more energy to be that way than it does to just be kind and treat people with respect. And I don't understand people that make that choice because I think it's a conscious choice not to be kind.
So for me personally, knowing those people in my life that were like that just couldn't be, getting to the point where I realized, oh, they are the gift.
Yeah.
Those people, the Adolf Hitlers, the the mean grandma, the somebody that doesn't have anything nice to say, like, yeah, we don't want to be around it, but they're the gift because they're challenging us to be our highest self. They're
Yeah.
challenging us to love them and know, like, all the self-evaluation that you have to go through when somebody's mean to you, right? And not let those words penetrate and take it as a truth, and to be able to see, like, oh, they're coming from a broken spot. They're coming from a if on the other side of the veil, all spirits are equal, right? If
Yeah.
there's no good or bad on the other side of the veil, and we choose to jump into these bodies, and someone's going to be like, I'm gonna be the bad person. I'm going to be the villain, right? So that you can experience what it is to be the hero. That's a pretty noble role. It's hard to, like, grab and wrap your head around, but there's so much healing in that, knowing that maybe they came here just to cause you to expand and find love in a way that you wouldn't have had to do had it not came at you like that.
I can appreciate that a lot. There are times when you in the moment you feel uh, so sort of downtrodden and sort of like the world is against you and this person is doing this. And so at the same time, though, once you're free of that,
Yeah.
it expands and allows you to be a better person moving forward.
I was shown I think it was last summer, that there's, like, this switch inside of our hearts, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a magnet, with the polarities. And when it's turned one way, it's like this rainbow that just beams out, and there's nothing negative that can even it just doesn't. But when we flip it the other way, then we're like this vortex for all this nasty energy, and it's all going to hit us, and it's all going to hurt, and it's all. So when I'm feeling like I'll either attack spiritually or emotionally, or like, why is
Yeah.
that person, when I consciously, like, flip that in my heart, it's so liberating. So liberating.
Because you kind of get your power back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's been one of the most motivating factors for me this last couple of years is just getting my voice and my power back. Is it was taken from me for a long time, uh, and hopefully no one else out there has to deal with a narcissist. But once
They're
you
the
do,
heroes too, though. Do you
yeah,
know, like, narcissists get a bad rap.
that's fair
but,
because not all are equal.
but we're like, to have a narcissist, to be in a relationship with a narcissist, right?
Yeah,
You have to be a vibrational match to that on some level. So it's kind of like closet narcissism, right?
yeah,
Because the things that they would do, you would never do.
100%. Yeah,
And so there's a payout in knowing that. And so once you shift your vibration, then you're not a match to that anymore. Like, we have the ultimate power. Like, I really, really believe that we do. And it's hard if your life's journey, that growing up with one, right? Or like
yeah.
you're dropped in a family where it's like, oh, you're surrounded by it, or your mom or your dad or your brother or sister, right? So to swim out of that and to shatter the illusions of what's around you, can be really challenging. But once you do,
Life changing.
totally life changing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And how do you stay focused though? Like, like how do you keep going
For
with
me,
that?
it's the quiet. So it's so funny because I sing, right? And I'm in this music world, and it's always noisy,
Yeah,
except for the sweet spots in between. And that's where the music really is, right? It's the silence. And so to turn the noise off and to sit with your own thoughts and your darkest shadow, right? Because that's why we have the noise going. So we don't have to look at our shadows, not like other people. We're fine looking at other people's shadows.
a hundred
But
percent.
when we go turn off the music, look at our own shadows, and then, for me at least, the best way is to incorporate the light inside me, right?
Yeah,
Not to push the shadow away, not to push all the negative things, not to own it, right? Those are beautiful in their own right. And that's what makes up me. And what heals that is the light, right? So you incorporate your shadow into your being to be whole.
Okay.
Instead of uh, growing up in the church, it was always push it away, like, you know what I mean?
I do.
Hide it, tuck
Yeah.
it under the rug.
Mhm.
It's not there. I'm going to strive for perfection. I'm going to strive for, well, sitting in ugly for a minute and just holding it and letting it be ugly and letting it pass through you. That's healing,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the way to get through it.
Yeah.
And
A
you
f-
don't stay there. You don't want to stay there. That's not healthy either. But
And a friend of mine was talking about it like dams. So if you don't deal with or face with the negativity and allow yourself to heal, you're going to stash it away in like a dam,
oh,
and
yeah.
inevitably that water is going to overflow. And depending on how many dams you've built up, you could have like a cascading event of flooding of negative emotions and all that stuff that could possibly derail you. So if you don't focus on the negativity at some point and heal and sort of get through that, you leave yourself up to a massive sort of wave of negativity. And I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. Like one
We'll
of the,
store it in our organs, like
yeah,
anger
yeah,
right into your liver,
yeah,
worry right into your kidneys, right?
yeah.
You see a lot of,
And you could feel it.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sorry, you were saying you could see.
Um, so usually when people don't do that and then they hit their, 50s and 60s and their bodies are changing, usually when those emotions don't get dealt with, you'll start to see disease creep up. You'll see breast cancer creep up for the women who never found their voice, right? You'll see all kinds of things creep up, heart attacks for guys because you
Yeah.
can't, that's where your forgiveness. So if you don't, a lot of guys, it's hard to, so process it to the best that you can. Let it move through you.
And you'll be I challenge anyone listening to do that exercise and just take an evaluation of how you feel afterwards, because I would imagine it's going to be life changing.
Oh yeah, for
Just
sure.
100%. Like you can't keep that stuff bottled inside. And that was the default growing up, right? My dad always like, you don't talk about your emotions. You don't, like, that's just the way he was raised, and that's the way he raised me. And so
Yeah, for
it,
boys, suck it up,
yeah,
buttercup, right?
suck it up.
Like,
Yeah.
why are you? Don't cry, And the
Right.
girls, it's for girls. It was always be
Yeah.
nice, don't cry, and be nice. So we've had,
And both of those are bad things.
yeah, because it put barriers on the divine masculine and the
Yeah.
divine feminine,
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah. And especially like when you're trying, so women, uh when you're told to be nice, puts you at a disadvantage, because there has to be that inner voice that's a protection. And if you're just nice to everybody, then the tendency, especially for predator dudes out there, they pick up on that and they feed on that, and it leads to negative relationships. I see that happens all the time.
For me too, because it's so funny the amount of male energy that's been in my life. Like
Yeah.
I had just brothers growing up. We have 6 sons, right? My band is all guys.
Yeah.
So growing up, when I would see that happen, it caused like a rage inside me, and it was unfortunate. But what that did to me was I just demasculated men anywhere that I could.
Yeah.
And so to then have sons and being wired to demasculate men when it's like that's the last thing that your boys need. So having to learn how to come out of that and embrace like my own femininity and see the power and real beauty of it, because growing up it was like, oh, women are weak, and it's like, no, when you're in
No.
your divine power and your divine love, like when you're in divine love and your divine feminine, that is so powerful. And when you're in your divine masculinity, that is so powerful, and you need both to make a whole
100%.
person. You
100%.
both.
Yeah. And I know so many strong, powerful, independent women who would run circles over some men. And I think the duality of it, right? There needs to be both, right? You can't minimize the fact and say that women are beneath or low. I don't buy that
No,
for a
once you
second.
put value on it, then everything
A
shifts.
100%.
Everything, because we're not wired like we can do it. We can
Yeah,
carry those loads, but those loads are so unnatural for us to carry that we're burdened in a way that we're not able to give our full self to the world that way.
yeah,
And so shifting our own, like at least for me, when I shifted and saw the power in femininity, not toxic femininity, because that's definitely a thing
different. It's different.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
but the divine feminine and seeing the value of that, which I didn't have
yeah.
probably until I was like 30, in my 30s, really. That shifted everything for me.
And so, how did that shift everything for you?
It allowed me to step into and see value in things that I never valued before, that I counted as weak, that were not, they were not weak.
Because society said they were weak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was just very freeing for me.
Mhm.
It's it's freeing for me to go out with my husband, and instead of having to stand guard every time I walk out a door, or when I'm walking to my car, or if I'm in a room and there's some shady people. When I go out with my husband and he's in his divine masculine, he's never had a confrontation with anybody. He just holds that space.
No, 100%.
And I've never had any issues. But then I get to go in and be completely free and be completely oblivious to my surroundings because he's covering me, right?
Yeah.
It's this beautiful thing that, and feminine energy is so, it's just,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
so to get to walk at that. And what's really cool is there's some bandmates too that carry that same signature. So even if my husband's like not there, to be able to respect that space, that's, they would never like threaten, they would never like,
Yeah.
you know, try to punk it, but they still hold, they can hold, I've seen them do it, that divine masculinity where they would never even have to say anything because they're just holding that space, where I can let my guard down a little bit, which is really awesome. And I know a lot of people don't think about it, but every time as a woman, if you're going anywhere by yourself, and I go a lot of places musically by myself. So to do that, and you're looking behind your shoulder every time you're getting out of your car, when you're getting in your car, where you're parking, that kind of thing. It, it's nice to not have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And for those people listening, if you're at a show, don't be a douche to the people singing or in the band. Don't do it. Just don't do it. If you have a thought about doing something douchey, just don't do it. Like there's just it just drives me nuts when I see that happen in the wild.
I've been blessed to not have that personally. Well,
Yeah.
that's not true. One time I sang a Nora Jones song, different than Nora Jones, and this lady wanted to murder me.
Oh.
She, she was like so into our set, and then I did a Nora Jones song, and you could tell she just really connected to the song, and it went from like loving what we were doing to wanting to murder me. And that's the only
Because you
time.
changed the lyrics?
I didn't change the lyrics. I probably changed the cadence.
Wait, what? What the? Okay.
Don't mess with
Wow.
her, Nora Jones. That's the only time anything's ever happened to me
Yeah. That's
like
wild.
that. Or I was playing with a guitarist and he was so good. And we were a duo act for a while. And I remember being in a club and this guy was just like watching him all night. And like, that guy's not really playing guitar because he was just that good. Right. And so it's starting to escalate and I'm watching what's like going down and I'm seeing my guitar player who was seasoned, old school seasoned.
Yeah.
And he's like unscrewing a microphone stand, getting ready for like if something goes down. And I'm like, that's not ever been my experience.
Yeah.
I DJ'd for years and there would be bar fights, but I never in my view, never like,
Yeah.
I missed it all. I missed it all.
So you were a DJ before you were
I was a DJ. It's what I wanted to do so bad. It was my dream job.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
I was in college and I remember my boss was training me like on the soundboard. And I'm like, they were talking about their turnover rate with DJs. And I'm like, why would anybody ever want to leave this job? It was like, it really was my dream job
Yeah.
for where I was in life. And now you couldn't pay me enough
I couldn't
to
do
do
it.
it.
I couldn't do it either.
Nope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody's ever happy, and
That ship
just
has sailed.
yeah, and there's no pay. Oh my
I was
goodness.
getting paid really well, and I would actually make more. Uh,
Interesting.
I was getting paid well, but I was getting tipped out really well. So, like
Okay.
that last half hour when people finally had enough liquid courage to sing,
Yeah.
I'd have and I would be done. Like my show would end at a certain time, and I'd have patrons grab the tip jar and they'd walk around and they would make more for me in that little half hour just to give them, their last song because they're finally ready. Then I would make like all week DJing, and so the pay was great. I I just don't have that in me anymore.
That's fair. Mhm.
Yeah, maybe a wedding if it was like a close friend I might like do, but it's not for me anymore.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So what's next for the Raven Kings?
So recording really is and really focusing on our original music, getting a good album out there. We don't want to be a bar band. We'd rather play less.
You're way too talented to be a bar band.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We'd
Mhm.
rather play less and just have some.
Yeah. And and I don't think people fully appreciate the commitment that it takes.
It's
Like it's a lot of time and a lot of work.
It
Yeah.
really is. And so lots of us have families and have small kids. So for us, if we're playing shows that our families can go to, that's way better
Are there a
than.
lot of venues like that out there?
There's a lot of like fairs and festivals that you can take your kids to.
Are fairs and festivals, do they normally pay better
Way
than
better.
Okay.
Way better. Yeah.
So instead of like $100 a person, it could be like
Y-
$300, $400 a
Yeah,
person.
you'll make a lot more doing fairs and festivals.
But there's
My
not
favorite
enough.
used to like back in the old days when all my kids were little, just doing the Multnomah Fair.
Yeah.
Just what we'd get paid in ride bracelets for the kids to all go, and
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so for me that was some of the best
Worth its weight in
shows. Oh
gold.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so they'd be having a good time. It would just be a good time. That's still a great fair. It's still, I think it's the last free fair in Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So tell people how they can hear your music.
Right now, there's a little bit of stuff posted on Facebook. Jesse DeVille has a lot of his original music online. I want to say at jessedeville.com.
Okay.
But the Raven Kings, you'll just have to wait. It's in the
Stay
works.
tuned,
Yeah,
you
stay
all.
tuned.
Stay tuned.
Well,
There have been a couple of teasers on Facebook
yes.
that are worth a listen. If you have a chance, go out and listen.
Yeah.
We've been at this for an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to return the favor because I had a feeling. So this is a kindness coin.
Aw, so cool. Thank you.
Yes. And please keep doing what you're doing. Like, I love the message that you have out there. I love the brand that you've got going. Your band is amazing. And you're a special, sincere, nice person. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And check out the Raven Kings, you all.
Yeah, we do have the Raven Kings Jam the second Thursday of
You gotta check that jam out. And if you're musically inclined, bring your instrument. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
It's so much fun. And then aren't you doing karaoke as well?
Jesse DeVille runs a karaoke show out in Carlton on Friday nights, but that's going to be postponed. He's having a surgery coming up, so he'll probably pick that back up in March. And our next show is in March at the West Side, and
perfect.
Then we're in Newburgh in April, and so it'll probably be summertime until we start hitting the circuit, and hopefully we'll have our record by then.
I can't wait.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.